I'm Liam. I'm the president of FET, or Fordham Experimental Theater. FET is pretty cool. It's one of the three major theater clubs on the Fordham Rose Hill campus. We're stationed in the Black Box. If you don't know what Black Box theater is, it's basically small scale theater in a black room about the size of a regular classroom. We fit about 50 to 60 seats in there, and we do experimental theater. So that's theater that experiments with things like the relationship between the audience and the performer, with things like what a play functionally is and can be, and it engages people quite close, which is part of the fun of it. It's a super intimate place to do theater, and it's a super fun place to build community, and it's a super cool place to try things out. That's part of what I think is so fun about it, is that everyone sort of brings ideas to the table, and nothing's really off limits in terms of experimentality, simply because, as we say, the E is key. We like to push the envelope of what theater is and can be in a lot of ways, and bring something really cool and unique to the Fordham community. So that's pretty fun. We do shows, 2 main shows every semester, 2 main plays, with a production, a budget, with a cast and crew that we put a lot of time and effort and devotion into. We also do a playwrights festival, which is shorter plays. I think one thing that sticks out about FET in relation to other theater groups is these are all student written and directed, basically. So we bring students in, we bring peers in, members of the community in, straight in to all sort of become stakeholders, all become decision makers in this one production. And it's a great exercise sort of in building community through theater. The other thing we do is through 4 umbrella groups: poetry, stand-up comedy, sketch comedy, and improv comedy. So they do 3 performances every semester. So it's just another link in our big community of performance and theater and fun.
Go.
There's a couple things that distinguish FET from other theater groups, just in general and here at Fordham. So first things first, of course, is the Black Box. That's sort of our home base. That's where all of our shows take place. The Black Box is unique because it's pretty small. It's an intimate venue where we can cram in 40 to 50 people, but it feels like a much larger crowd when you're in there. And that's part of the fun of it, is that you are right up in the audience's face. You are right there. You can see the faces, the smiles of every single person in that audience. And that's something that you don't get in a big theater like Collins, which would be really cool to perform in, but I really love the Black Box for that intimate setting. The second thing is we are exclusively student directed. We don't bring in any directors from outside, no professionals. I mean, we're all professionals in our own way, but we are all of our productions are led by students. Our creative team is fully students. Our writing team is almost always fully students, with some exceptions, of course. So it's about having students like on the ground, people working together on this production, less oversight than other theater groups, and this sort of enables us to make our own decisions about productions and to work with the creativity and with the lack of limitations that help us make really unique, interesting, out of the box, no pun intended, productions. The second thing would be the interface between the audience and the performers, because we are in the Black Box, as I mentioned, this tiny little space. So oftentimes in our plays, we like to blur the lines sort of between the audience and the performers and engage them, whether it's our most previous show, Honest Man, which had a whole bunch of crowd work where we engaged the audience directly, or the show Mario Kart WrestleMania, where the entire premise of the show was decided based on someone chosen from the audience beating one of the characters in the play in an actual game of Mario Kart, which was cool. What FET does, since we have this space, is we are able to bring people from the audience directly into our shows in ways that I think is pretty unique to most theater groups. So that's cool. So in comparison to the other theater groups, Mimes and Top, I would say FET is probably the most separated, the most segmented, only because obviously we have that wholly different space downstairs in the Black Box. So in a lot of ways it does feel a bit like upstairs, downstairs, the fields don't cross much, which is natural due to spatial reasons. We're not using the same facilities as much, and in a lot of ways we do very different things. But it's really great to see when the clubs can come together, when we have crossover. We recently had Mario Kart WrestleMania, which had a lot of involvement from Mimes and Top people. Coraline, just a year or two ago, had a lot of really great involvement from Mimes and Top people. We have a culture and an attitude where we love to welcome them in, and they love to welcome us in. So everyone works together really well in this giant space that we call Collins Hall. We share resources. I think Mimes we can thank for quite a lot of that. Then the institution, the 150-year-old club, they're very good about sharing their resources, sharing their expertise, giving us help when we need a hand. So that's always much appreciated. And we have a lot of members of our productions and of our umbrella groups who are super involved in Mimes and Top. So it's, as much as we're separated physically, it's always really cool to see when we can get involved and when we can cross over with each other. But at the same time, there are things that FET does that those groups don't do, and they're very different. Our umbrella groups, for example, a stand-up comedy, improv, sketch comedy, and poetry are something that is exclusive to FET pretty much for all of Fordham University, is those umbrella groups. So that's something that we take a lot of pride in. That's something we think is super cool and super unique about FET. So we love to have this unique place. We love to have these unique things we do, but we also love to have involvement and interchange and mutual respect and interest and love and going to each other's shows with these other theater groups. And I think it works out really well.